This is lesson 1 in the financial literacy unit. Today we're going to be calculating wages and salaries. So this is a way to earn money through earning an hourly wage or through a salary. There are other ways to earn money too, and you'll see those in later lessons. But today we're going to be focusing on those two things. So before we get started, we just need to know a few facts about the number of days, number of weeks, number of months in a year so that we can do our calculations properly. So hopefully you already know these facts, but if you don't, good to take note of them. So the number of days in a week is 7. The number of days in a full year is 365. The number of weeks in a year is 52. A little bit more than 4 per month. And then the number of months in a year is 12. Okay, so let's start with example 1. Marta works as a carpenter for $50.87 per hour. How much will she earn in a 40-hour work week? Okay, so $50.87 per hour. And then we're going to multiply that by 40 hours to get the amount. Now I have a calculator set up here, 50.87 times 40. So that is $2,034.80. $2,034.80 in 1 week. Okay. How much does Marta earn annually? So for this, if we know how much she earns in 1 week, then we can calculate how much she earns in 1 year by multiplying it by 52, since there's 52 weeks in a year. If you've never heard of this word annually, it means per year. So you would take your $34.80, and that's per week, and multiply that by 52 weeks. I find it helpful to keep my units in my calculations, just because then I can make sure that everything is being calculated correctly. So I'm going to keep, if you have a calculator open, you could just use that same answer from before, 2034.8, and multiply that by 52. And you get $105,809.60. $809. I should mention too that if we are using dollars, or if we're writing our answers in dollars, you should always use 2 decimal places. So if it ends in 0.6, then you need to add the 0. And that's annually, or per year would also be correct there. Okay, let's move on to example 2. So for this one, we're going to be given an annual salary, and then we're going to calculate the monthly and the weekly income. This is a really common calculation you would do. Often when you first get a job, they're going to tell you how much you're going to earn per year, and then if you're going to create a budget for yourself, you might want to calculate how much per month or per week or every second week that you're going to be earning, so that you can make sure you're spending the right amount. So Liliana earned $55,183.36 working in a hair salon. So her monthly income. So this amount here, the $55,183.36, that was per year. So if we want to figure out the monthly, we want to divide that by 12 months to split it up into 12 chunks to figure out how much she earns in each month. So let's go ahead and do that. $55,183.36 divided by 12. So we get, and here is where we have to do our first rounding. So again, it's money, so we want to have 2 numbers after the decimal place. We want to round to the nearest hundredth. So it's $4,598.61. Oops, I forgot the number already. 4598.61. So that's how much she's earning per month. Okay. What was her average weekly income? Okay, so here's where students make a really common mistake. They assume that every month has about 4 weeks, which is true. Like every month has about 4 weeks. But if you want to be more accurate, you should use the yearly, because every year has exactly 52 weeks. Whereas each month it's a little bit more than 4, right? So you're not going to get an exact number that way. So for the weekly income, we're going to start with the yearly amount again. You don't want to use the monthly amount because months don't have, except for February, months don't have exactly 4 weeks. So, and then we want to divide that by 52 weeks in 1 year, because every year has exactly 52 weeks. Okay, so I'm just going to use my calculator again. I'm going to type in that original number, 55183.36, and then divide that by 52. So we get $1,061.22. So this time, because the 1 is next to an 8, we want to round that up. So $1,062 and $1,061.22 per week. Okay. All right, so let me just pull that up one last time and just make sure I wrote that down correctly. $1,061.22. Yes. Okay. Let's go to a time card. So often when you work at a job, if you're paid per hour, you might be asked to clock in and clock out. It might be on a piece of paper or it might be electronically, but it's basically to keep track of like how many hours you work. So this is called a time card. So we're going to fill out this time card for Monty. Monty works as a cashier and he makes $21.75 per hour. I've also got an image of a clock here that will help us count. So find the time card and fill out the time card and calculate his earnings. Okay, so for Monday he's starting at 9 a.m. So I'm going to go to 9 on my clock, and he's finishing at 2 p.m. So the clock is a great visual for counting. So it's going to be 3 hours to get to noon, and then another 2 hours to get to 2 p.m. So that's 5 hours total. Okay, let's go to the next one. I'm just going to erase the highlighting every time. Well, Wednesday he started at 5 and he ended at 9:30. So starts at 5 and then ends at 9:30. So it's going to be 4 full hours. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then an extra half an hour, because 30 minutes is half an hour. So I'm going to write it as a decimal, 4.5 hours, 4 hours and 30 minutes. Okay, let's do Thursday. So for Thursday, he's starting at 10:15. So that is, let's just round it, let's just say 10 for now, 10:15. And then he's working till 3:30. So 3 is already here. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 full hours plus an extra 15 minutes, because from 15 to 30 minutes is 15. So it would be 5 hours and 15 minutes. Now on 15 minutes is a quarter of an hour. So if I want to write this as a decimal, I would write it as 5.25 hours. Just on the side here, I'm going to write how I did that. So 15 minutes is, like if you look at a clock, 15 minutes is like there. It's like 1/4 of the way around. If you want to do an actual calculation for it, a whole hour is 60 minutes. So 15 out of 60 is 1 out of 4, or 0.25 hours. Okay. It's more useful to write these times as decimals, because then our calculation at the end will be simpler. Okay, and then lastly, we've got Saturday. Oh no, not lastly, sorry. We've got Saturday and Sunday, the weekend. But they both have the same time, so we just have to do one calculation twice here. So we're starting at 3 and we're ending at 3:15 and we're ending at 8:45. So from 3:15 to 8:15 would be 5 hours, and then there's an extra 30 minutes, because from 15 to 45 is 30. So 30 minutes is half an hour. So 5 hours and a half, 5.5. Okay, and both Saturday and Sunday were the same, so I just put the same number for both. All right, so now that we've got the total time, now our job is to calculate his earnings. So to calculate his earnings, I'm going to add up all the times to figure out his total hours. You can do this with a calculator, or you can do it using mental math. I will just open up my calculator to make sure I get it right. 5.25 plus. Okay, so I've added up all the numbers. I get 25.75. Okay, and we know that he earns $21.75 for each hour that he works. And if he works for 25.75 hours, that's going to give us his total earnings. So I can just go ahead back to my calculator here and multiply that number by 21.75, and I get $560.06. Again, rounding to 2 decimal places, and we keep it as a 6 because the 6 is next to a 2, which is less than 5. So $560.06. Oops, forgot the 0. $560.06 for the week. Box that in. Okay. All right, so that takes us to the end of the lesson.